Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the morning briefing with Friedman Adventures. So happy, so glad to be back with you all again. I can't thank you enough, the thousands of you who are tuning in for the morning briefing every morning. I can't thank you enough for spending a little bit of time with us every single morning. It's great to get you up to date, and I have got so much for you. One thing I want to mention up front, or a couple things I want to mention up front. Number one, we just put up our Pride Fall trips out of 22nd Street Landing, 2-day trips, $625 when you book early. That includes all your meals. There could be a fuel surcharge. Last time it was 20 bucks and fuel is dropping, but who knows with this crazy world that we live in now, what's going to happen there. But $625 includes all your meals, limited to 14 people. Highly recommend you jump on one of those really soon, because it looks like the fall is setting up to be really, really great. All right, I'm gonna take you down the Baja coast a little bit, and then I'm gonna talk about everything from basically Cedros Island all the way up to the Channel Islands, and there is a lot of great stuff going on, and there's some misses. We'll cover all of that for you. First of all, I want to take you down to Cedros Island, Cedros as it is called, and a couple of guys from the 540 Slingers Club. Those guys are near and dear to my heart. Jeff Yeomans, Danny, all the guys at the 540 are so giving, and they want people to feel the joy of fishing the iron, and they're so willing to teach others, and my hat's off to each and every one of the great guys at the 540 Slingers Club. A couple of those guys were down there at Cedros, Dave Morgan and Joe Russo, and they said Cedros is definitely not overhyped. Tremendous yellowtail fishing. And of course, besides that, there's great calico bass fishing. You can surf fish the island. I know guys who do that all the time. At times there's halibut, there's white sea bass, and there's so much more. But Dave Morgan ended up with a 33-pound forky on the surface iron. Can it get any better than that? Joe Russo with fish in the 20-pound class. Joe caught some on the yo-yo iron. Those guys were having an absolute ball and just putting the wood to some yellow, so that is really great. All right, let's take you up now to Ensenada. My friend Arnie, who runs a ponga out of there, and I've talked to several other pongeros down there. Thankfully, I speak Spanish, so I'm able to communicate with all those guys, and I have a lot of dear friends down in Baja California. Incidentally, if you're driving to Ensenada, the traffic is kind of a pain in the nalgas right now, because you've got some new construction going on there, so you might want to, put some time aside for that. Early morning, late night, not so bad, but during the daytime, it can be a real pain in the neck. All right, Arnie tells me the bluefin are back in Ensenada. They've been there for a while. They're biting. Again, those guys are trolling with those Mad Mac lures and having great success, as you can see with Arnie right here. Nice big bluefin tuna. And Arnie said they are fishing 8 miles outside of Todos Santos Island in Ensenada, close to home. Nice big bluefin, really great fishing going on. It sounds absolutely fantastic. So we've got bluefin over a vast area, and that is one thing I want to drive home with you all today. There is so much bluefin tuna around. It is incredible. Foamers, breezers, just giant sonar marks, not only down there off Ensenada, but we've got fish around Catalina and San Clemente at times. It moves around. Fish between Santa Barbara Island and Catalina Island. We've got fish out on the banks. There is a lot of bluefin around. And the light switch has not gone on yet. There's been some decent hits here and there. We'll talk about it in San Diego in a second. But man, there's a lot of fish around, and it just bodes well for an incredible fall. At least that's the way it's supposed to pencil out. One never knows in this game what's going to happen. Maybe it just stays spotty for the rest of the year, and maybe finally it's going to bite nails like we've got a feeling it will. Oh, I do want to mention to you that Arnie said, and I covered this on the coastal, but I don't want to forget this, down at Santo Tomas, a little bit south of Ensenada, there's some good yellowtail fishing going on. He said kelp patties in that bluefin zone were tough in terms of finding any fish on them. There's been some yellowfin moving up. There's been some dorado moving up. There's been a lot of yellows on the kelp patties, but right there in that bluefin zone, 8 miles outside of Todos Santos, Arnie said the kelps were not holding, at least for the last 72 hours or so. We'll keep watching that for you very, very closely. All right, same thing up for the San Diego-based boats. I mean, the guys on the Pacific Queen, and they just finished up a Daiwa USA trip. So our good friends from Daiwa were on board that one, and you know they're all geared up properly. They've got the right stuff. And I'll tell you, the amount of fish that they saw was absolutely mind-boggling, but tough to get a bite at times. I still ended up with 45 on the bluefin tuna. It was a 3-day trip. 45 bluefin tuna, and about 19 of those fish were in the 90 to 180 pound class. That's the other thing. There's different grades of fish everywhere. Sometimes you get into that big grade, and then sometimes you're catching that 25 to 50 pound range bluefin tuna. Both beautiful grades of fish, but the reason I bring it up is because you need a variety of tackle to take this stuff on. So for a 3-day trip, 45 bluefin tuna, you could argue that that's not exactly wide open, and you would be correct. It is tough to get them to bite at times, but the amount of fish that we are seeing is incredible, and you definitely want to have some really good gear. We like Daiwa, of course, but you got to have gear where you can turn those fish and get them on the boat, especially if you're in a nighttime bite and you go from school to school to school. Sometimes you get on a school that really wants to bite. Sometimes you get on a school and you hang one fish, and it is essential to get that fish on the boat as quickly as possible, not only for you, but for everybody on board, so that you can move on to the next school and see if it's going to be one where you hang 8 fish or 10 fish or bend the boat. You've got to have really good gear. So that gives you an idea of what we're talking about down there. The Legend on a 1.5-day trip, 34 bluefin tuna, and they were talking about seeing copious amounts of bluefin. It is everywhere. Again, tough to get a bite, but if you want to see a show, if you want to see foamers and breezers, you know, one after another, there is a lot of bluefin around, perhaps more than we have seen at any time right now. And no, it is not biting full speed. It's tough to get a bite at times, but man, there are some really nice fish. Big one on the Legend went about $1.20. Most of their fish, however, in that 40 to 50 pound range. And once again, at night, you want to have some lures that are in that 400 to 500 gram range, as well as some smaller stuff. Daytime, you might run into a kelp, so you want to have that 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon. We like Opsin USA, www.opsinusa.com. Put in FA at checkout, that is Friedman Adventures at checkout, and you'll get a free gift from Greg Brown, as well as a handwritten note, even though his little fingers are really starting to fall off. So that's your bluefin situation right now. A variety of tackle is absolutely necessary. Don't leave your heavy stuff at home. Make sure you've got it, as evidenced by that Daiwa USA trip on board the Queen. They had some really nice big fish on that one. All right, let me take you to the kelp patties right now, because the kelps are really loading up. Kelp patty fishing is, man, it's dicey. I mean, you find the right kelp, and you come back to the landing and you're like, man, this was the greatest trip of my life. I've never seen anything like it. You don't find the right kelp and you pull in next to that boat and you're like, wow, what a crappy day today was. So a little bit of it is luck, as I have said, but a lot of it is just hard work on your crew's part, finding more and more kelps. Somebody up there in the bucket helps all the time, captain, glassing, deckhands, glassing. But one other thing, and man, I'll tell you, you'll be a hero when you're on a kelp patty trip. And I'm talking to all you guys who are going to be on the Malihini 1 week from today. That's right, our Malihini trip, going offshore, don't need a passport, a couple of spots left. You should book and come down and have some fun with us. But all of you guys, get your eyeballs out there. Find a kelp. Let Bill Wilkerson, whatever boat you're on, let him know, hey, I think I see a kelp over there. And let me tell you, if we roll over there on that kelp and get bit, doggone it, I'm going to give you an extra donut or two. You know what? If you find a kelp and we get bit on it on the Malihini trip, we'll have a special prize for you. I guarantee it. It'll be good too. Something from Daiwa. Let's do that. We'll have something special from Daiwa. Find a kelp with fish on it, then you get a prize on our trip. Now, so this takes it from being a spectator sport to participating in it. You definitely want to do that. I know Martin Padilla, he's up there on the Malihini up top, and all he does is scour. He's got eagle eyes too, and he scours and trying to find a kelp. The Apollo, on their first trip back, my friend Jeff Jessup, Ricky Carbajal just bought the boat. They're running out of Seaforth Landing. You can't come back with a better trip than this. 22 guys, 220 yellowtail, a lot of bonita to go along with it, a couple of Dorado here and there. I mean, what an excellent way to come back to Seaforth sport fishing. And they're putting a lot of money in the boat. It's a work in progress. They're getting it back into shape. It looks great, and it's so good to see the Apollo out there. And once again, nice grade fish. Remember, that fluorocarbon really will help you. 30, 40-pound fly line bait, choosing a good hot bait makes all the difference in the world, and a huge way to get it done. Old Glory, limits of yellowtail fishing the kelps. Islander, limits of yellowtail fishing the kelps. Couple of Dorado, 2 bluefin tuna. There is an entire mix of fish going on right now. Yellowfin are out of the picture right now. There's a lot of boys out scouring around trying to find it again. That's normally a fall thing, and so is all this other stuff, although you do get kelp out of yellows earlier in the year, but I'm talking about the Dorado and the yellowfin and all those tropical and subtropical species. Normally it's a fall thing, but we're seeing a lot more of it. Wouldn't surprise me to see that YFT poke its nose back in here at any time. And we do have some tropical activity down below Cabo right now, so sometimes people think there's no science to this, but there's empirical connections where you see a hurricane down there and it creates that south swell, and that pushes warm water and fish up. A lot of captains will tell you, heck yeah, we see it. We see the cause and effect. We see the hurricane, and then several days later we get that push of warm water, we see a south swell, and we're bit. We got fish in here that we didn't have before. But the science on it says, we don't see a connection. So I don't know. Sometimes the guys on the water are even a little bit ahead of the game. We'll see what happens with regard to that. The Grande, 31 guys on that 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. trip. They ended up with 30 yellowtail, 32 on the bonita, and a Dorado. So some really decent fishing and some trips that miss a little bit. That is the nature of kelp patty fishing. So again, bring that fluorocarbon. You definitely want to have that. Hook size with the bait they've got down there is like 1.0 to 2.0 right now. That should do you really, really well. It just facilitates your tackle right now. I mean, this is like the old albacore days when I used to go on the Searcher as a kid. My brother and I had our tackle box in our front pocket, some rubber core sinkers and some hooks. And, you know, we watch these guys come on with these long range tackle boxes, just brimming with all kinds of tackle that they never used. I'm not telling you not to bring a variety of tackle. I already went through that on the bluefin thing, but sometimes you can simplify this, and 1.0 and 2.0 size hooks, fly line bait has been working really, really well. All subject to change because we're in that kind of a year, and that's what we're here to bring you the very latest about. All right, let me take you down to the islands right now, and we'll start at Todos Santos Island off Ensenada. A lot of barracuda all through there. Yellowtail, spotty right now. Remember, down south of there at Santo Tomas, some pretty fair yellowtail fishing going on down there in that neck of the woods. That's really good news. That just means more fish are flowing up the Baja coast, and hopefully that is going to continue. We get you up to the Coronado Islands. Wow, that place looks like the days of old. At least it did yesterday on board the San Diego. What a magnificent trip. Does it get any better? They had over a hump on the yellowtail yesterday. 106 yellows on board the San Diego out of Seaforth Sport Fishing. I'm telling you, it doesn't get any better than that. The grade of fish there, most of it is 15 to 20, 25 pounds. Some smaller, some bigger, but most of it is good grade yellowtail. Biting a fly line bait, biting a surface iron, biting a yo-yo iron. It was really biting incredibly, and a huge day on the San Diego yesterday. My friend Gino Machino had a friend on there, and he said it was mind-boggling how great the bite was. Several other boats with good fishing at the Coronado Islands. It looks great there. There's so much yellowtail pushing up the coast. You got it at the islands, you've got it on the kelps. It bodes well for the LA Orange County area in the fall. It's looking really, really good. Tremendous action at the Coronado Islands right now, and hopefully that is going to continue. Other guys didn't get that huge of a piece, but most guys are in that 20 range on the yellows like that. So there is some awfully good fishing going on down there in that neck of the woods. Pescador with 20 yellowtail. So again, mixed scores, but a huge day on board the San Diego. All right, taking a look at the islands up here. Let's talk San Clemente, Nicholas, Santa Barbara, those places. Phil Capriccio with a beautiful white sea bass fishing on board options. So there is still some sea bass at all these islands, as well as some decent fishing on yellowtail. The Thunderbird yesterday with 11 yellowtail. Also had a handful of calico bass to go along with it. The yellows are biting pretty well at Clemente. You do get molested a lot by those sea lions there. That can be a real pain in the neck, but we've been flashed with some decent yellowtail scores and some misses also. That lacks consistency still at SCI, and I think it's going to be a fall kind of bite. It's just kind of looking like that. Well, obviously, it hadn't been an early summer bite. We've had a few flashes of brilliance at the islands, but no really consistent great hits for several boats. So we'll continue to watch that for you very, very closely. Freedom a couple of days ago with a good sea bass score and some yellows. There is a lot of that going on, but again, it gets inconsistent. I want you to realize that, and when it does, you definitely want to fish some lighter line. Now, I'm not telling you when you're in a yellow bite or you're fishing dropper loop to drop down to 12-pound test. I'm not saying that. You want to fish the heavy then, okay? I'm a guy that loves to fish the heavy, so. But if you're fishing calico bass and not getting a bite, you drop down to 15-pound, and you are going to put the wood to them. So you got to gauge your bites and got to be careful, because even when you're fishing calicos, you fly line a bait with 15-pound and hook a 30-pound yellow, you're pretty screwed when it comes to that, especially when you're fishing near a lot of structure, as the boys have been doing. Catalina Island, Enterprise, some calico bass, a lot of bonita and barracuda boiling around there, seeing a lot of yellowtail. Hooked one on the Enterprise yesterday, lost it on board the Native Son. Aaron Graham, the captain, they ended up with one yellowtail and a few calico bass, 52 bonita, 8 barracuda. Not wide open, seeing a lot of fish, however, and really good action. And when I say not wide open on fish that you're putting in the sack, but a lot of action, catching a lot of short calicos, returning them, barracuda, all of that stuff, some surface ironfish, some 20-pound fluorocarbon fish. It's pretty good, not wide open, but boats that are fishing Catalina Island are encountering really nice weather right now, and we see a lot of fish. Again, is it setting up for the fall bite? Seems like it. Really does seem like we're going to have a really good fall, so don't put your rods away too early this year. I'm telling you, I think it's going to bite. Incidentally, I just mentioned the weather at Catalina Island. We're blessed with really good weather here this week. It looks great. So from down below the border to up to the Channel Islands, we're going to have a couple of windy periods, but nothing like what we've been experiencing. On many of these days, you're going to have flat, calm seas. That can only help the situation. Up there in the Channel Islands, still a lot of white sea bass up there. Some days you really knock them dead. Other days you scratch at them, but there continues to be a lot of sea bass on this big, bright, full moon. Incidentally, were there grunion here last night? I would have no idea, because I was snoring. 4 a.m. comes early, so I was asleep. But if you saw grunion at the beach, put a comment up and let us know. Hey, we had a great night with the family and the kids. I'd really like to hear more about that. But up there, the Channel Islands, the Mirage with 17 people, 36 white sea bass, couple halibut, plenty of rockfish to go along with it. On board the Aloha Spirit, 9 white sea bass. Other guys, Endeavor, some of those guys getting big pieces of sea bass, but it's a little slower right now. And I mean, I remember a time where you told me that there was a boat with 9 white sea bass, and I'd be, whoa, I got to drop everything and get up there right now. We are very spoiled. And that Channel Island bite, I mean, it is the epicenter of sport fishing in terms of white sea bass, and it remains that way. That is, you could argue that some of the best fishing, if not the best, so far this year has been up there in the Channel Islands. It has been phenomenal. And yeah, hopefully that is going to continue up there in that neck of the woods. 10-ounce torpedoes, dropper looping. Sometimes you're using a sliding egg when you get in the short water, again, they run and gun up there on their sea bass. They go from sonar mark to sonar mark and fish those sea bass. It really is remarkable and a lot of fun. All right, let's take you now to the coast and briefly mention that overall, not great. You know, I mean, a little bit of surface fish here and there, but overall, not great. A lot of barracuda down there south of the border around University Point and Sasipuedas and other areas. You find some bird schools of gar around. I got to tell you that the gar bite this year, while not phenomenal, is better. I mean, it's hanging around longer than it normally did. Now, you know, we get up here to the LA Orange County area, we got flashed by that barracuda for a little bit, and then it was out of here. So here, it was that kind of a situation. But just speaking overall, it seems to be hanging out a lot longer, and that's good news. So moving up the coast, San Diego, Dana, scratching at the bass, catching rockfish for the most part. A lot of guys still fishing sculpin here in July, which tells you how good the local surface bite is. City of Long Beach yesterday, limits of sculpin, not bad. I mean, everybody's going home with some fish. I get it. I mean, that's great. I love it. Fish tacos. 38 on the sand bass. Mitch said that he thought that maybe if they were on that bass a little bit longer, he could have put a even better score together. Nice big sand bass. So that's a good signal, and hopefully we'll see more of it up there in the Channel Islands out of Ventura Sport Fishing. 805-676-3474. The California is out this morning, and they're poking around and looking for some local bass and rockfish and maybe even some barracuda. The Island Spirit has been fishing the local area along the beach, catching good rockfish, sheepshead, whitefish, that kind of thing, and then going out to the islands where they have been seeing a lot of barracuda, and some days actually catching lots of barracuda, so that looks good. On the surf, well, there's more yellowfin croaker. We're in this grunion run right now, so you have this magnet that has sucked all these fish into the beach. The problem is sometimes they're really full. If you want to match the hatch, of course you want to go with the Lucky Crab lure. These things have been looking at grunion all night long. There's some corvina in the shallow areas. You can catch those corvina and do quite well with 6-pound and a trout rod and a natural bait. And there's still, I see my friends down the beach are catching spot fin croaker, natural bait, sand crabs, sandworms, that kind of thing will do you really, really well. And same thing up there around the Topaz Rock Jetty, where there has been in the Santa Monica Basin good corvina fishing here recently. So that is still active. Big fish bait and tackle down here on the corner of Seal Beach and PCH. They've got all your baits for surf fishing. I'll be over at Island Fishing Tackle in a little bit to go see my friend Sam De La Torre. So I sent all my best to all the folks there. Sam plays our stuff all the time in the store. So if you're at Island Fishing Tackle watching this right now, Sam De La Torre has a gift for you. Just because you walked into his store and watched this, he's got a big hug for you right now. Just go over there and hug him for me. All right, everybody, have a great day. It is good to be back with you. Those Pride trips just went up $6.25, includes all meals, limited to 14 people, maybe a fuel surcharge of about $20 on top of that, and you're all done. You can go on a great fall trip. We have 2 trips, September and October. It looks like those could be great trips. No promises, but it looks like they could be great. And once again, for the thousands of you who are tuning in to the morning briefing every morning, I don't have the words to express my gratitude to you. Thank you so very, very much, my friends. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I'll see you again really soon. Have a great day.